I'm Matt Bishar with Nareit here in Hollywood, Florida for Nareit's REITwise, the 2018 Law, Accounting, and Finance Conference. Joining me today is Ross Prindle, Managing Director and Global Practice Leader of the Real Estate Advisory Group with Duff Phelps. Ross, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Now, here at REITwise, you talked about a new FASB project at the Accounting Committee meeting. Can you tell us a little bit about that project and what impact it could have on the real estate industry?
Well, it's what it is. It's this phase 3 of their project on asset acquisitions and business combinations, right? So they had phase 1 and phase 2. They completed those. We all thought they were done, right? Moving on. And then they decided to, in August of 2017, to start up on phase 3. And phase 3, they voted on what the direction and the focus should be of it. And it's primarily going to be focused on 3 main areas. One is expenses with regard to asset acquisitions and whether they're capitalized or they're expensed, transaction costs rather. IPR&D is a focus as well, which doesn't have a huge implication for real estate. And the third one that they're going to be focusing on is contingent consideration, right? Which does have a focus for real estate transactions. And what's interesting is, prior to asset acquisition accounting, which is just sort of come into play this year, all these acquisitions that all of our brethren out there, the Real Estate Investment Trust, made were treated as business combinations, right? So they took their expenses, or transaction costs rather, and they had to expense them. Now we move into asset acquisitions. They get to capitalize all those expenses. And now, as we move to phase 3, they're relooking at that, and if I was a betting man, I'd say that it's very possible that they can move back those transaction costs into the expense item. The other piece of that was contingent consideration. Contingent consideration in the previous accounting was measured at fair value and then measured every measurement period. You had to update that right after the acquisition. Asset acquisitions come along. They say, no, we'll just deal with that and resolve it when it occurs, when it gets paid, right? So frankly, I think a lot of the folks out there like some of these things that happen from business combinations to asset acquisitions, but it does appear that they're going to relook at that, and they may move contingent consideration back to a fair value standard as well as transaction costs moving back to being expensed as opposed to capitalized. But we'll see. It's the FASB doesn't move very quickly. It's a slow moving project, and I did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people to try to figure out when we thought this would come to fruition, and it's unknown at this point. So we'll have to all sit and wait, I guess.
Now, I understand that Duff Phelps does asset valuations in support of the REIT industry. And obviously it seems that we're going through a pretty turbulent economic period. How do you think real estate values are going to move over the next, say, couple of years?
Well, I wish I had my crystal ball, but I could talk to you about what I do know and what I think is sort of obvious that everybody's seeing the effect of. First of all, interest rates. Interest rates, they're going to rise. What's happened recently is interest rates have risen, but spreads have closed, so cap rates haven't moved as much, right? They're still kind of in that realm of where they were before for in favor assets, right? So one asset class that's had trouble is retail. Retail's seen a tremendous amount of bankruptcies, Toys R Us and others, and so if you are looking at what those sort of cap rates are now compared to a couple of years ago and where they're likely going, probably in a upward trend, which would mean lower values for retail. I think what's spooking everyone is these bankruptcies. Number one, number two, a lot of folks buying things online. I mean, it's a growing industry that's not going away. If you have a property that's in a good location, a primary location that's not a tertiary location, that has some good tenants, you're likely going to be fine. And in some cases, we've seen even those long-term net lease retail cap rates come down a little bit, and they'll stabilize. But if you're in a tertiary market with some tenants that are questionable credit, that haven't done well, good luck. Good luck trying to find there's not any institutional buyers for those properties. So then you go to the second level of buyer, which is, you know, your moms and pop types or your family office type things, and then their return requirements are a lot different, and they're more looking at those things for redevelopment plays. So to answer your question long-windedly, I think in the next couple of years you're going to see a continuation of that on the retail side. It's going to be a little bit more difficult on those type of properties.
Ross, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
For more from REITwise, be sure to visit Nareit's website, REIT.com.